It's a bright, sunny 24 degrees Celsius in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily, your daily dose of sunshine. I'm Maokbe Oguyusuf.
Indeed, it's quite a contrast from how yesterday was.
Indeed,
when we say rainy day, yesterday was a rain. It rained throughout yesterday. Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Sunrise Daily. I am Kayla Megwa. You know, we can't leave you people alone in this country.
No, we can't.
We can't leave people alone in this country. A few days away, you want to break the whole place.
Oh, dear
apart.
Lord.
I mean, the country is such, well, you know, when we say pray for interesting times, I don't know if this is what we're talking about.
Maybe not. So not this type of interesting. Not this type of interesting, Kayla, because while it might be sunny and bright for a number of people here in the Federal Capital Territory, in Lagos, where we understand the temperature is 26 degrees Celsius. It's supposed to be a cool, you know, say bright 24, but cool 26. That's because Lagos can get pretty humid. But yesterday was unpleasant for many people, especially those who have property around the trade fair complex in Lagos, especially around the Iba area. Yesterday, we understand that some demolitions took place in that particular area. And this was quite unpleasant for them because they said they received no notice to that effect and that they also had permits for their structures. Well, is it a situation whereby they have been caught up between a dispute over whose approval they should really get? Because they said they got approval from the federal government, but the state government says no. This is in our territory. This is not where you get federal approvals for. It is within our territory, and you must get the requisite permits from us. So have they been caught up in a fight between two elephants? Is that what has happened?
Are there two agencies that are supposed to do the same thing?
Yeah.
That are having an issue, and then it's now a situation where the people are suffering because of that?
It's a big question, Kayla, but I know that this is not the first time this has happened. We saw this sometime last year, and it does appear that it's not all over. So take a listen to what officials of the state government had to say.
What has actually happened today, it's a response from the Lagos state government that, if you recall, some couple of weeks back, some estates were declared illegal. And what was the reason? Purely because they have not gotten layout approval. Now, this complex is about 332 hectares. So, which is more than due for a layout permit. We have met with the DG, that's the executive director here, and we have not seen the layout. The conclusion of our meeting is that the layout should be forwarded to us so that we can review, and all the buildings that are on it must show evidence of individual planning permit. There's still some contention on that, so she's going to get back to our own authority and clarify that. But the take home for today is that all development under construction must stop immediately. And within 1 week from now, we expect the authority to come to our office with their layout plan and the approval of the individual buildings. If we don't have this, I'm sorry to say, we will bring down all the buildings in this place. We will bring them down.
As far as I'm concerned, the state cannot override the federal, and as far as they are concerned, the state can overreach the federal. So we will meet after now to sit down and harmonize all these different divergent views and come up with a holistic point of view. We, on our own, the management of Lagos International Trade Fair, as it stands, headed by me, have been doing everything to make sure that the building specified to comply with the specification. But what we do is that we use the Federal Ministry of Works and Housing to get all the necessary permits. We have engineers, we have engineers and town planners, and so that comes from the Federal Ministry of Works. They come from time to time to inspect the building. Before you even build, you need to get permits, building permits. If there's anything wrong with the environment, maybe we should check lawman. Because I know when I came and there's a problem, we went into agreement with lawman, and lawman comes here. When they said they will be coming maybe once in a week, I said, no, this is a trading hub. We need you to come almost every day to clear the debris because of the number of people here. But we continue to do that. We continue to do what we make Lagos State proud and Nigeria prouder.
Well, you've heard the official of the Lagos State government, as well as the president, or let's say the chairperson of the Lagos International Trade Fair there. So clearly, all is not well in that particular complex. But as a result of the exercise carried out by the Lagos State government, some traders and some investors suffered losses yesterday. As you can see, some buildings were destroyed, perhaps not completely pulled down, but in such a manner that it has become unusable and could even threaten the structure, or let's say the integrity of those structures. Well, we're speaking with one of those who was affected by that exercise yesterday, carried out by the Lagos State government. Mr. Charles Ekpunobi joins us. He's a business operator at the Trade Fair Complex in Lagos. Mr. Ekpunobi, these pictures we are seeing on our screens are really, really tough to watch, especially if one were to put themselves in your shoes. I know that this must be very difficult times for you, but can you tell us, just how we got to this situation?
Mabe, thank you very much for having me. First of all, I would like to thank the chairman of stakeholder and the executive director of, and as well as the director of the Trade Fair Complex, sent there by the president for calming the masses down. You understand? First of all, we are there in Trade Fair for almost 20-something years, and the people that is giving us approval, we understand, is Trade Fair Management Board. That is federal government, Ministry of Land and Urban Development. You understand? Most of the buildings you see there, my own in particular, have a complete document, and it's being supervised from foundation to the roofing level, which you are seeing now, you understand, by them. And after which the approval was given to me, you understand. So I was still on my bed when my staffs, I have staffs, there are many staffs and workers and the rest of them, both Yorubas and Igbo, they're calling me, Oga, our building is being demolished. I say, how come? You understand? So my sister, Mabe, I am still surprised up to today that a building that have approval can be demolished without prior notice. Nobody gave us notice. The notice I saw on the tele now was even right on that day. You understand? But that was to the I think the government building, the Trade Fair Complex. The Trade Fair Complex Board, Lagos International Trade Fair Board, that people managing the place, it was in their building. They come to the government building and said, this building is not fit for this thing. They marked it. But on our own, you understand, like this one you're showing on the TV now is being marked at the government building, the one occupied by government. But our own, no notice. And it was that day they marked it. Our own, no notice, no nothing, no information. You understand? If Lagos State wants us to come and do approval, after getting federal government approval, we should start to come and get a state approval and get local government approval. We don't have any option. We will come. But they didn't tell us. You understand? We still are at our bed. Why? They came in the night with talks, heavy talks, police and rest of them, to demolish the building that have government approval. You understand? My son was asking me yesterday, Daddy, is it true that they don't want Igbos again in Lagos? You understand? I know when you were celebrating that you have approval, What happens again? I didn't have any answer that I will give to my son. Mappy, please, do you have any answer? Can you give me an answer to give to my son?
I know that these are really, really painful times for you, Mr. Ekmunobi, but I'm just a little curious because this dispute between the Lagos State government and the management of the Lagos International Trade Fair has been on for a while. We saw some of it come up sometime, I think, last year, when the Lagos State government, I think, was trying to, I can't quite remember what the situation was, but there was a major dispute, I think, which saw both parties, or which saw the management saying that they were going to go to court as a result of it. So it does appear that there has been some, will I say, some dispute over who has jurisdiction over the Lagos International Trade Fair. I do know that there are certain parts of land that was ceded to the federal government by the Lagos State government. But clearly, it doesn't appear that these disputes have now been ironed out, smoothly, and as such have affected, traders like yourself. But if you're aware, let me just ask you, are you aware of any previous dispute between the management of the Lagos International Trade Fair as well as the Lagos State government? And if you are, do you know what became of the initial discussions?
I think Lagos State is a government, you understand? Trade Management Board is as well a part of federal government, you understand? And they're being sent there by federal government. I am a private individual, you understand? I cannot mingle with under the affairs of the government and rest of them. But all I know, and all we traders know, is that we are there legitimately. You understand? We did not force ourselves there. You understand? We was at Lagos Island before they invited us to come and invest here. Due to the love we have in our country, due to we believe that this country is one, and due to we believe, we come and invest. You understand? We come and invest and we stay there and doing business. In fact, what happened yesterday, behold, I saw my billions melting away. You understand? I saw them melting away. If they're having jurisdiction and the rest of them, if we masses, we are, without the masses, there will be no government, Malbe. You understand? So they should, I cannot dictate to them who owns what. You understand? But let them decide. You understand? But if I can show you now, beside me now is my complete approval. You understand? I acquired that land legitimately from government. You understand? They come since, we have been there since 20 years ago. If you want, I will show you some of our approval, some of this thing, 20 years back from federal government. You understand? So if state government come in now and say that they want to take over, they should do it in a normal way and let us, you understand? No. These are the things that touts do. Government should not involve themselves in that. But I believe, I still believe that Sanwo-Olu is not aware of these shenanigans that happened yesterday. You understand? Because if he does, that means we are nowhere to be found. You understand?
I mean, Mr. Ekmunobi, I mean, it's very heart-wrenching, and I can see the emotion on your face there. We are really running out of time for this particular segment, but just, to encourage you and others like yourself to be strong in this time. You've lost a lot. It's not the end. You can actually pick yourself up again,
Yeah, please, before we go, I want to say one thing before we go. You understand? Thank you, my Karela. I think it's Karela, right?
Yes, Kayla, yes.
Yes, please, as long as we have our legitimate document from a government, we don't want to get involved with between state and the federal government issue. I thank the government presence, the ED that was able to, and my chairman, trade fair stakeholder that was able to control the masses not to revolt. So people stood and asked the policemen to shoot them on the head so that they would die, since they don't have country. So if our government is not, if our governor is not aware of this, you understand? Or if governor is really our general governor, let him come and look at the damages his people has done and do something about it and compensate the people. I will still come to the air and thank him for that. And that we will know that this country belongs to us. They should not try to bring the animal in people. Well, if government asks us to do something, we've done what government asks us to do. You understand? We have never derailed or refused to do whatever government asks us to do. What is all this? You understand? The government should come to our aid.
Unfortunately, we have run out of time, and your words have been heard, and I'm sure the governor heard what you said. This appeal is coming from several quarters, you know, and listening to you there, you're really going through a lot with this situation. But like I said earlier, be strong in this particular time. It's a phase, and these things can happen. But you know, you have to always keep it together and know that you can pick yourself up again. Thank you so much, Mr. Ekunobi, for speaking with us this morning, and all the best. All the best with what's going on, Mark.
Indeed, Mr. Ekunobi, Mr. Charles Ekunobi, is a business operator, trade fair complex in Lagos. Thank you once more for speaking with us.
From there, we are speaking right now about hunger. Earlier in the week, we kept talking about the Nigeria speech and what it was supposed to address. We heard that it was going to address key things that we need from the United Nations. But when the speech came out, it addressed more things. In fact, the president of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, represented by the Vice President Kashim Shettima, went on to talk about the relevance of the United Nations, their stands on things that we as a country consider human rights abuses, and how that affects the relevance and importance of the United Nations in today's world. Well, joining us from New York is Mr. Laolu Akonde, former presidential aide and host of Inside Sources right here on Channels Television. Good morning, Laolu.
Good morning, Kayla. Good to see you.
Good to see you. All right. So when we saw that speech from the Vice President, it felt, well, from the President, President Bola Tinubu, you know, that speech was read by the Vice President. It felt a little harsh, harsher than previous speeches that we've given. What do you make of the tone of that speech, given Nigeria's stand on issues?
Well, I mean, I would suspect that the tone of which you speak might be a clear indication of the president's personal attitude to the United Nations. And in my view, and this is my personal view, that may explain the fact that he has missed the United Nations General Assembly back-to-back for 2 sessions now. So the tone might be, you know, the proof that, you know, he is not satisfied, you know, with the way multilateralism is being conducted, particularly and possibly in the United Nations. That's the only theory that I can say regarding the tone. But having said that, it is indeed an issue that is burning in the international system, the efficacy of the United Nations, you know, especially since the Charter of the UN said that UN ought to prevent wars. As a matter of fact, UN was set up to prevent wars, but now we have wars all over the place. We have war in Ukraine, we have war in Gaza, in South Sudan. And these questions are being raised as to the efficacy of the current multilateral system, especially again also when you have different kinds of models of multilateralism, and also the issue of people emphasizing on their own national identity and their nationalism, you know, as against working as a United Nations. Indeed. You know, of course, if you heard what the President of the United States also said, the President of the United States, Mr. Trump, also questioned the purpose of the UN and even went to the extent of saying that he has been able to do much more than the UN, and complained bitterly, you know, about the fact that he doesn't get support from the UN referencing what also happened to him on the elevator and what happened to his teleprompter. So yeah, so there are a lot of concerns out there about the UN itself as an institution. But I think I think it was Professor Gambari that said it, that if we didn't have the UN, we would have had to invent the UN. Because we actually need a body where these things are being discussed actively.
Yeah, well, you see, that's the issue, though, Laolu, the discussions. Yeah. And I want to read part of what the president said. We do not believe that the sanctity of human life should be trapped in the corridors of endless debate. It does feel, in many ways, that the debates are endless. And, of course, just to get your thoughts on this, we have made a stand. Well, we have always had this stand, but, more boldly written down now than I've ever seen before. That is why we, referring to Nigerians, we say without stuttering and without doubt that a two-state solution remains the most dignified path to lasting peace for the people of Palestine. So we have taken a stand on that. So just so you can speak to us a little bit about the issue about these endless debates. And while the debates are going on, wars are going on, and then also this whole situation where we have said that we want a two-state solution for the issue in Palestine.
Well, yeah, it's a very important issue, and I think there's quite a bit of frustration, about the situation in the international system, especially with regard to what the president of Nigeria described as the weight of moral conflict regarding the Israeli-Gaza conflict war, and some of the atrocities that the world has witnessed, and everybody knows the forces behind, the fact that situation is persisting. The General Assembly is very clear about the two-state solution. Nigeria supports this two-state solution. And interestingly, I think earlier this week, you have quite a number of Western countries, Canada, United Kingdom, saying that, look, we recognize the state of Palestine. That's a very major shift in the whole in the whole argument. So yes, Nigeria has also affirmed its own position. Nigeria has always also supported the two-state solution, by the way, and the president's speech also made it very clear that that is still the position of Nigeria, and that is still the right way to go. Clearly, the world has been holding quite a very troubling situation in Gaza. And we hope that, after the end or during this debate, we can see a little bit more of resolution of it. I think even in the speech of the president of France, he called out President Trump to say that, look, you can stop the killings, you can stop the war in Gaza, and it is true, and it was very specific. I said, look, all you need to do, Mr. Trump, is to stop supplying Israel with the weapons with which they fight, which some other Western countries have done. So, I think you're right. Nigeria was bold enough in that presidential speech to say that, look, we support the two-state solution. It seems to be the reasonable way to go.
I mean, the tone ought to have been celebratory. After all, the United Nations is 80. But it does appear that it was one more of reflection, for a number of the leaders who spoke. And, looking at whether or not the UN was actually achieving its purpose, for me, it was just a question of taking a look at what some of the leaders were saying. And it was like as if they expected the UN to act by itself without their actual countries, taking the decisions which ought to be taken at the UN and backing it with their sovereign weight. Did you see an attempt to shift responsibility in this regard?
That's a very good point, Mark. Excellent point. And this was some of the things that Mrs. Amina Mohammed had raised in our chat. That, look, I mean, it is the United Nations, member nations that form the United Nations, and the secretariats, and those agencies are the instruments of the United Nations. And she had said that clearly the UN is still a very, very important institution, that if we don't have the UN, we're going to have a situation where a lot of atrocities will be going unreported, and global focus will be shifted away from what is going on. And so she argued that, look, whatever it is, we know what is happening, and that is very important because that itself is a form of pushback, But you are right, Markwe, that the UN is made up of member nations. The Secretariat has no powers of its own outside of often raising the moral voice, which the Secretary General Antonio Guterres has actually been even criticized for. Guterres has managed to raise a moral voice, especially on what is happening in Gaza and Ukraine. And that is the best that the Secretariat by itself can do. It is the member nations, especially on security issues, the United Nations Security Council, where some of these heavy weights can actually be lifted. But if you have countries, such as the United States, using the veto, for instance, on the issue of the two-state solution and other stuff, it's going to be difficult to move forward. Even just ending the war, just creating an humanitarian access to Gaza has become such a very contentious issue. So we're talking about humanitarian access, and so we are witnessing some of the most tremendously atrocious stuff happening in our world today. And so it is the member nations of the United Nations that has the responsibility to sort it out. The Secretariat is only the instrument that they use.
Indeed, because at some point I started to ask if members, if the presidents who were given this debate had forgotten how the UN is supposed to work, if they thought that the UN was some institution that they had created which could just do what it liked, regardless of what it was they were doing outside of the UN. And even you just made reference to the veto powers of the Big Five, which they have refused to share with anyone else. And there are big questions as to whether or not that veto power will continue to exist because, looking at how effective it has been within the UN Security Council, it was given for a reason, clearly not for how it is currently being used, at least in the circumstances that we're seeing. Has there been any conversation or has any leader so far raised question? Because what it would seem is that all of the leaders, are the ones who are outside of the UN Security Council, are saying, no, we need a seat here, or we can, maybe they too should also have veto power. Is anybody saying that, look, maybe we shouldn't have this at all?
Oh, well, so as you know, that, the United Nations is a power, there are tremendous power dynamics, even in the formation of the United Nations, So those who formed the United Nations, those who had the ACs when the United Nations was formed, those are the people who have given themselves the power, to run the organization as the way they seem fit, including that power of the veto that the 5 permanent members of the Security Council, have. Now, what is happening is not so much a call to take away those powers. That would be much, much difficult. What is happening is that people are saying, including the Secretary General of the United Nations, including President Tinubu's speech, including the speech of the South African president, and quite a few others, are saying that, look, let us put 2 Africans on the Security Council and let them also have the veto power. Let them have all the powers and all the rights that the permanent 5 also has. And it's quite very absurd that Africa is the only continent that is not represented in the Security Council as a permanent a member. And this is a debate that has gone on forever. But good thing, people like Antonio Guterres, and the Deputy Secretary General, our own sister Amina Mohamed, have also, raised the voices that we need to put 2 permanent members on the Security Council from Africa. So that is the conversation that people are saying that, okay, if we can't take away your power, then let us share it. And that seems to be a very reasonable thing. And I want to believe that ultimately this will happen because the member nations of the United Nations, owe it to ensure that the UN does not lose its reputation, does not lose the global trust that is in it, and it's up to the member nations to ensure that does not happen.
All right, Mr. Laulu, as we round up, just 2 things I want you to address. The first one being our appeal to be permanent members on the Security Council. Was this the appeal that would get us that particular thing that we're asking for? And then secondly, our stand, the 2-state solution that we've agreed on, well, at least the president has said we've agreed on. Would that have any impact on our relationship with Israel and with the United Nations, with the United States of America, rather, because we know where they stand on that situation?
Yeah, well, to be fair to the Americans, they have made efforts in the past, and I don't think they have argued against the 2-state solution. I recall that President Clinton, almost got the PLO to agree, when he was president, and there has been other efforts by other American presidents, including this one. The problem is that is the ongoing conflict, and the fact that they will want to do it at a time when the Israelis are also comfortable, about that. What seems to be their predisposition now is Mr. Netanyahu's decision and resolve to destroy Hamas, and you wouldn't blame that resolve by itself in principle, because clearly Hamas has conducted itself as a terrorist organization, and there is no doubt about the fact that Hamas is committed to the destruction of Israel. I don't think anybody is arguing that. They want to destroy Israel. That is a very clear, so you understand where Netanyahu is coming from. Now, what people are worried about Netanyahu is the excessive use of force and the atrocious, conditions that he has imposed in Gaza. So, yeah, Nigeria has joined the voice to say, reaffirm its voice that yes, it's a 2-state solution, and most member states of the UN, that is where they are currently.
But now, yes or no, do you think that this would have an impact on our relationship with the United States and with Israel because of our strong ties over the years? Will this stand that we've made, will it impact that?
No, I don't think so. Not in the big picture. There may be few things here and there, but essentially it would not rupture our relations with.
Mr. Laulu Akonde, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Laulu Akonde, the former presidential aide and presenter of Inside Sources right here on Channels Television. Thanks for your insights again.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll go on to another conversation. We started it yesterday. I was listening to Malkwe while she was talking about it yesterday. We're continuing it today after this break. Stay with us.
Good luck. Agbaragi. I'm the chairman of Okana Unity Forum. We received the news that the president has honored the Ogoni for. Ogoni people are happy with that. That's what we've been clamoring for. We are very happy that the president has done this. And I can tell you, the Ogoni people will reciprocate this kind gesture. The president has done well. He also asked that the security advisor liaise with the Ogoni people on how to resume oil exploration in the Ogoni land. you can be very sure that Ogoni people will help the process, because we are happy with what he has done. I know some persons will say they are still doing remediation in Ogoni land while the oil exploration. But I can tell you, Professor Neni Barinizabi is doing very well. And because he's doing very well, we don't have a problem. We are sure that the remediation will go on properly. Mangrove are being planted in Ogoni land. The lost vegetation of mangrove is being planted. So we are happy with the process. And as well as the federal government will work with the Professor Baridan committee, we trust the caliber of persons in that committee. So Ogoni people are happy. If they want to resume oil in Ogoni land, we don't have a problem with it. Ogoni people are happy with it. So we thank Mr. President. There's jubilation in Ogoni land. We just pray that whoever that has the responsibility of liaising with Ogoni people would actually make proper consultation.
Well, so that is the voice, or let's say also the track or conversation we had with Mr. Goodluck Baragbaraje, who is the chairman of Gokana Unity Forum. It's no longer news that the president yesterday conferred posthumous honors on the Ogoni Fall. They are Mr. Edward Kobani, Albert Bade, Samuel Orage, as well as Theophilus Orage. And shortly after that posthumous conferment, there were indications that the federal government is taking a look at restarting production of crude oil in Ogoniland 31 years after it was stopped. However, there have been questions as to how far so far with the implementation of the 2011 UN report, which recommended a cleanup of Ogoniland before a restart, it was saying, of production. This morning, we're joined by the chairman of the Board of Trustees of HYPREP. HYPREP is the Hydrocarbon Pollution Remediation Project. We have to thank Mr. Emmanuel Odeya, beg your pardon, for joining us this morning. Mr. Odeya, it's quite a lot to take in, because we did hear when the 2011 report was submitted by the UN Environmental Project that it would take at least, it was going to take at least 30 years, almost 3 decades, to complete a total cleanup of the damage that had happened in Ogoniland. How far so far?
Well, that report recommended, first of all, let me thank you for having me here.
Thank you for coming.
That report recommended that there should be a contribution of $1 billion US for the first 5 years, initial. And the oil companies have complied because they were asked to contribute 35%. NNPC was supposed to provide 55%. They've done 89.9% of that. The refineries were supposed to provide 10%. They've not given us a dime. And then the federal government was also supposed to provide $10 million US as takeoff funds. They haven't done that.
The federal government hasn't done that?
No, they haven't. So, but at this point, with the much we have gotten, so much has been done. But I would like to say that during that scientific studies, there were still some communities that had issues. The study team couldn't have access. And some of the communities, there were hostilities, you know. So we still need more money to complete the study of the areas that were not captured then. And right now, we have, they've done 2 stages. They are on the second phase of remediation. And remediation has to do with cleanup of the soil, you know. But there is these ones that were heavily impacted. There's a place called Isozoken in LMA that there was a blowout during the Civil War. So the spillage was massive. So in such very highly impacted areas, the facilities or the expertise to do the cleanup is not available. I think during the time of the last board, they went to Germany and some of these countries to see what they have there and if they can be of help to us. So, and there is also the livelihood. You know, the devastation in Ogoni land affected our land, and we also have fishing settlements. And so there is also what they call mangrove revegetation, because we lost our mangrove. And so right now, that is on. Water is being provided in some communities, and then men and women are being trained in different skills to, you know, like now you can't go to farm the way you used to go before. So what you have to do now is look for some other ways of survival until the restoration is complete. So it's on. I would say it's on.
I want to get your thoughts on some of the kickback that we're seeing from groups in that part of the country, where they're saying, look, this consultation should have been done with more stakeholders than the ones that were part of the conversation. And of course, this idea that we have to do cleanup of this place, and then they say total exoneration of Sariwa before any of those things, any of the exploration begins. Just your take on the groups that are saying that right now.
Well, let me start with the issue of exoneration and all of that. Two persons had misunderstanding and they were far apart. Coming together is step by step. I have everything done in one day. Now, I want to commend the president, because I was active in the struggle. I was in the House of Assembly at that time, so at least by that status, I was opportune to participate in some of the meetings and all of that. When it was on, you know, I would say that a lot of our people got some kind of misconception. You know, people were telling them that if we succeed, we are going to be like Saudi Arabia and all of that and all of that. We are part of a country governed by the constitution and laws. So we can't act out of it. What the president has done, I commend him. First, pardon, and then give him post. Because when the first set was done, you know, there were reposts. Because after Oputa panel, we no longer addressed Ogoni 4, Ogoni 9. We all said Ogoni 13. So that was, you know, but thank God the president has resolved that now. So we are making progress. And when you talk about a community, you must expect that there will be divergent views. But where does the majority stand? At this point, I'm part of that committee who went out to the 4 LGAs and even did virtual communication with those who are in diaspora. And the aggregate of the opinion, you know, of these different groups was collated. And that was what we sent to the president a few days back. And if we have done that, and we have seen some steps, for example, we have the Federal University of Environment and Technology, which was not there before. The East-West Road was completely abandoned. I remember when the former president, Buhari, was in office, we went, delegation, and they considered to NNPC and all of that for the road to be done. But nothing was done. At least today, of the 2 lanes, people can drive home on one of the lanes, not complete yet. But we are seeing steady progress, which was not there before. We are cut off. So when you see these things in place, what does that tell you? Confidence building measures from the government. So what are we expected to do? Open our place for them to come in. Now, don't forget that the UNEP report also talked about decommissioning. What does that mean? It means that these pipes, the pipes that have been underground for this number of years, some of them are corroded, some of them are bad. They need to come and look at them and see the ones that need to be changed. And then, a few days back, we had some spillage in a community in Kana and another one in Eleme. So, if you're cleaning up and there are these occurrences again, what does that tell you? It means that something has to be done properly so that when they take off, when this resumption of activity, so the presidential pronouncement doesn't mean they are going right there now. It means that steps will be taken to fast track it. Before this time, I can tell you, all the previous government, never was there any gathering of people in the open. Meetings were held openly to collect views. Groups were allowed to come and speak.
Is this all because yesterday a number of people were concerned that, you know, there was this indication that they want to restart the production of oil when the cleanup has not been done? Yes, the federal government has taken some steps which you have spoken to, pardon, controversial or not, of the Ogoni 13 now, and also the conferment of posthumous honors. But you just mentioned that they are even yet to pay their own $10 million, which they ought to have paid for the cleanup. You know, can we really be talking about restarting prospecting and production of oil without a cleanup?
No, let me explain something to you. I have a background in microbiology. Microorganisms also degrade some of these hydrocarbons. We have a natural process in some of these places where when they went to go and do a study, a survey, they found out that over time, naturally, those places are regenerated and they are working. Now, the places that they have this, what do I call it now, skills of cleanup that needs to be done, it's not everywhere. It's in some places. So it does not mean that if they want to come and start production, they cannot, because these places are not done. Does that make sense? We have the studio right here now. Where I'm seated is polluted. Are you saying that work cannot be done here or things can be done in this place?
You shouldn't think the work you're going to do here is going to add to the pollution.
See, the point that you need to understand here is that they're not just going to come and start overnight. There will be studies. There will be activities to look at assessment. They've left for over 30 years now. So coming back is not going to dig the ground and start production. What the president did was a presidential pronouncement. Am I making sense? Okay. So, the thing is that understanding of these issues is individualistic. Do you understand? So, but you need to understand that the president has to make a pronouncement for activities to start. In that pronouncement, he also said that there will be multifaceted, groups, MDAs, groups, Ogoni people, responsible organizations will come together and look at issues concerning it, and then take off. So what is that? The order is on the ground. You want to swallow it?
Well, so how much longer do you think it would take? I mean, when can people say, oh, right now they have seen substantial work being done by Hyper?
Now, let me say again that we live in a world
where... We have 1 minute for that question.
Let me say a word that everybody has his or her own expectation. Now, if they have done water in about 21 communities now, and more are on, coming, they are still coming, what do you expect? And we are seeing progress, we are seeing signs. It's not that the money is completely exhausted. We still have some money that other activities are coming up.
So the people of Ogoni land can look forward to more better days ahead. Well, we have to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts this morning with us, Mr. Emmanuel. Well, we have to thank you very much for sharing your thoughts this morning with us, Mr. Emmanuel Deya, who is the chairman Board of Trustees.
Ogoni Trust Fund.
It's Ogoni Trust Fund?
Yes, because we have the governing council, we have the project coordinating office, and the Ogoni Trust Fund.
Okay.
We warehouse money.
All under HIPREP?
Yes, part of HIPREP, all part of HIPREP.
Ogoni Trust Fund under HIPREP?
Yes, we warehouse the money because this money is only for the cleanup in Ogoni land. So we receive the money whenever they need, we pass it to them.
I see. Well, we have to thank you for sharing your thoughts this morning with us. And that's where we'll have to wrap it up this beautiful Friday morning. We hope that we have made your day a little brighter. And we wish you a most wonderful weekend. Thank you for watching.
Indeed, have a great day ahead.
Somebody's smiling a little too much. Enjoy your break, Kayla.
I will. I'm going on a short break.
Tonight. So.
Yes, we'll be on a hard copy tonight, and it's the GMO conversation. So I think you probably want to be there to to understand what, because we're getting the experts now to actually break it down. So 8:30 tonight. Have a great weekend. I'm Kayla Megwa.
Business Morning is on top of the hour. Stay with us.